Hello, guys from Vittorio. This looks like a tennis match. Lazio had two match points. We are in the third set. First match points against Fiorentina, and we lost it. Second match point against Verona yesterday, and we dropped this as well. And it felt yesterday like we had a easy smash, pitch, draw open, and we missed it again. And now against Atalanta next Saturday, we have a break point because if we don't win against Atalanta, the situation is going to be terrible. I'm a true dramatic.
Well, I just hope that we've got enough tennis watching listeners that they understand all this terminology you're throwing at them.
Come on, that's not too complex. But anyway, I saw it coming, and this is even more disappointing, right? I mean, no surprise in Lazio wasting a huge chance against Verona. This weekend has been amazing. Milan losing again, Atalanta losing, etc. We had a huge opportunity, and
Yeah.
again we wasted. And we didn't waste it against Real Madrid or Paris Saint Germain. We wasted against Hellas Verona. Not really the top of the table.
No, but I mean, it probably tells you a lot about the season we're having. That I think myself certainly, but I think a lot of Lazio fans out there will have probably dreaded this match more because it was away to Hellas Verona, and it wasn't, a Rome derby, which you would feel almost more confident about this team winning a derby or beating Inter than you would going to Verona, knowing that if they get those 3 points, they're up to third. They're in a very good position, and it's just this continuation of the same theme, really. I mean, you can be forgiven as a listener if if you feel like you're getting a sense of deja vu while we do this podcast today, because we're going to be addressing the same issues we've talked about before. We're going to be addressing the team's mentality, the inability to hold on to leads, this issue with bottom of the table teams compared to big games. It's the same stuff over and over again, isn't it? And that's why, for me, it's really frustrating, but it's not a huge surprise, sadly.
Yep, Alistair, we have plenty of questions from our Twitter account, and some of these questions are really interesting. Um, for example, Gashlia Binot say the situation that bring us hard attack to deal with, like second half yesterday, and no subs, just two, is really confusing and concerning. Why? Um, I think we have to talk about this two substitution. Um, Lazio wasn't playing great. I thought that a couple of players were struggling yesterday, and still the only two substitution we made was Felipe Anderson for Ciro Immobile and Vesino for Cataldi. Uh, were you surprised? Did you see that coming? And why Sarri is making so little changes during the matches?
Well, the only thing I can think is that he is happier with what he's seeing than we are, because quite often in these games when we're not getting results, and we've not spoken since the Juve game either, the Coppa Italia defeat, and it was the same in that game where afterwards Sarri actually said he was pretty happy with the performance, and he often seems to be relatively happy with how the team is playing despite not getting good results or not actually creating an awful lot of chances. And I guess from a structural sense, perhaps he's seeing things that we're not. Perhaps he's seeing things that they've been working on that week that have worked. But when it comes down to it, I mean, yeah, the game yesterday needed something else, didn't it? Especially in the second half. It was another poor second half performance, conceded early. Let's be honest, Verona were likelier to win that game than Lazio were. Hit the post. My man Josh Doig had a huge chance in the first half that he missed. Um, you know, it wasn't like Lazio were really robbed of a result yesterday. They did need something else, and yeah, it's I don't know. I don't really have an answer for you. That I don't know why we're not trying something else in moments like that. When was the last time we saw Cancellieri get some time? I mean, even let's go for the anti curse. We already had Zaccagni and Casale, but let's throw in another ex-Verona player and just be trying that tactic.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what I was thinking is I cannot believe that Cancellieri is not good enough to play against Verona. I mean, that's we are talking about bottom of the table. I mean, if he's not able to play against Verona, then he's not able to play against any team in Serie A. No offense to Verona, but that's the fact. I mean, Basic, when is he coming? And the thing is, Alistair, it's not like against AC Milan that we were playing great football. I mean, Pedro was rubbish yesterday. Yes, he scored. He conceded the goal for Verona because that foul is ridiculous. And he was dreadful yesterday. He wasn't the only one. Did you notice Luis Alberto in the second half? Because I didn't see him on the pitch. And again, Milinkovic Savic, bad. Zaccagni did very little, but at least he tried something. I mean, you only had to pick a couple of players because you could sub all the team yesterday except Provedel, who made a couple of great saves, right? So it's not that, well, they're playing so good that I don't know who to take off. No, you have the options. I mean, you have plenty of options. And, you know, I love Sarri, but what David is saying is it's right. It's time to talk about Sarri. The team is not motivated. Honestly, we have a better team this year than last year, and the league is getting weaker. So, is Sarri failing? Is Sarri not delivering? Uh, for you, Alistair?
Um, I no, I mean I don't think he's failing because Lazio are better than they were last year. In the sense that got more points in the table than this time last year. We're in a better position in the table than this time last year. Still in Europe at the same time. The team is playing better football than it was this time last year. The problem is that I think if you take a step back from it and look at it objectively, the improvements are there, but the problem is that the improvements aren't by a big enough margin that it's making people happy. And I guess as well, the improvements aren't coming where they're most needed, which is in this really. It's in this kind of, you know, the blackouts, the mentality, the complacency, the lack of leadership, all this stuff we've had problems with since the days of Inzaghi and probably before. And I think that's what a fresh era, a new coach, that's what people are really hoping to see a bit of a change with. So it's frustrating that after 18 months it's not there. But I mean, yeah, still definitely in the Champions League race, and
Mm.
yes, better off than last season in many ways. But it is concerning to me. It is concerning that we've had a new coach, a new bunch of players, quite a lot of new players come in, and still this is there. You know, still this complacency is there, and I think we've had a few people asking us what we do about this, but I mean, where do you want to start with that?
I mean, Lambo is not wrong, right? We signed a couple of players, quality players, Basic, Cancellieri, Romero, Gila, and they're not playing. And then Sari goes and say, "Well, the team is tired." Well, he picks always the same starting 11, right? So why? And for example, let's not forget yesterday Manuel Lazzari didn't play a minute. I didn't think his eye had a terrific game. I mean, I was just waiting in minutes to see him go off, and it never happened. I mean, you're trying to win a match. You bring in Lazzari. He's a attacking defender, much better than his eye. So again, I didn't understand why that happened. Obviously, there are a lot of questions about the substitution, the fatigue. So I agree with Lambo. There's question marks here, and so yeah. And then there's Carsten asking why Lazio is not able to create more chances. Uh, I think that's Chiro's Mobile issue, right? Without Chiro, the team is struggling to create chances. Um, Incredible technology for us, but let me show you this. This is Lazio's 2023 so far. If you go and check, Lazio scored 11 goals. 11 goals. If you take off Lazio Milan, where we score 4, we just score 7 goals in 6 games. So it's a little more than 1 goal per game, which Alistair is not enough.
Yeah, something I said last night is it seems like we used up all our goals in that Milan game. And I think retrospectively now, looking at how Milan are going, you can probably take a slightly different look at that result. A few days after we beat them 4-0, they conceded 5 at home to Sassuolo. So perhaps that wasn't quite as an incredible feat as we thought it was. I mean, we did play very well in that match. Don't get me wrong, but scoring goals comes easier against Milan at the moment than most teams in the league. It is a problem. I think that a lot of this is tied to the midfield, because for me, I don't think we're getting enough creativity out of that midfield. We're relying on the front three to be producing, to be at their best, and I think in that Milan game it really clicked up front. The front three all working really well. Ciro has been out, obviously, and when he's come back in, he's not looked sharp enough yet for me. He's not back up to 100%, which is where we really need him. And otherwise, I think we're not getting what we need from Milinkovic-Savic in the last month or so. Alberto's been good in some games, not so good in others, but that's the area of the team, I think, where we struggle. It's not so much the quality of strength and depth in that midfield, but it's what they offer. And I think if you're dipping into your bench in midfield and you're finding Vecino and Basic, they're not going to bring you that attacking creativity that's going to unlock defenses, because they're different types of player. And I think that we spend a lot of time as Lazio fans talking about depending too much or not on Ciro. But I think what we've seen in the last month or so is that we're actually depending a lot on Milinkovic-Savic, because when he's not performing well enough, the team is really struggling to score goals, because he's so fundamental to how the team works in the attacking third. I think that for me, that's a big part of this creativity issue, is just his form isn't good enough.
So you think it's more due to Milinkovic-Savic's performance and not of Ciro Immobile not playing? Because I think it's a little bit of both.
It's
Obviously,
both, yeah.
but again, meaning Basic should be a player that should come handy in this occasion. But if he doesn't come in, then it's difficult. I never saw a player scoring from the bench, right? So if he doesn't play, it's going to be difficult to have a chance of proving that he's able to do these things, right?
No, you're right, but I mean, I just don't think he offers anything in Basic in attack. We've just seen so little from him in an attacking sense since he arrived. I think that the kind of player who can really make a difference in games like this often is Lazio, to be honest. I think that after the performance against Milan, I can understand why Sarri feels loyal to Marisic and Husay, but they can be a useful pair in those big games where you're trying to shut down players like Rafa Leao and try and make sure that you're keeping that defensive organization at its peak. But Lazzari's directness in attack, the way he can really spread defenses, cause chaos with defenses, and open up space for other people, that can be a real weapon. And I think that was missing a bit as well. On God, what day of the week it is? Monday.
and this brings me again to the question we mentioned before: why he didn't come in? We were trying to score and win the match. His eye was struggling. You have Lazzari on the bench. Bring him in. He's very good at that thing. He's a very offensive mind left back, right back in this chat. Give him an opportunity. I don't know what happened, but in the last couple of matches, Isai have started instead of Lazzari, and
or Pellegrini even. He's more attack minded than Marisic and Hussein.
I don't understand. I really don't understand. Well, about Pellegrini, you made a perfect assist. Sarri said he never signed a left back in the winter transfer market, so it's gonna be all on Pellegrini to get his chances to start. this is not a very positive message on your pretty much only signing. It's pretty much saying, hey, you're not gonna play this season, right? So be ready. I mean, we push so hard for another left back, and Sarri sending these messages. Do you think it's a joke or he's serious, and we're not gonna see Pellegrini playing this season?
I'm sure we'll see him. I mean, look, it's Sarri spent the last 18 months working with Marisic and Husai, so he's not going to sign a left back and immediately say to two of his most loyal players, like, "You're out now because we got this guy." And look, we've not spoken since the end of the transfer window. I think the last thing we said on that was essentially not expecting anything whatsoever. So I think it's a really unexpectedly good signing. A good young left back with decent Serie A experience and at a good age. But he is Luca Pellegrini. He's not he's not a superstar. He's definitely someone who can compete for a starting spot in this team. But I don't think we brought in a player who deserves to immediately chuck anyone else out of the team, and it's quite right to say that he's there for competition, and he has to earn it. But I just think because Pellegrini is better in an attacking sense than the other two, that's why I don't know. It felt like they needed more because it was a draw that felt like a defeat. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess it's easy for us to say now. Why don't you throw in XYZ players and attack and go for this win? Whereas actually Sarri perhaps was maybe you could say he was right to be more cautious, and it's better to have the point than to go and throw everything at the win and then end up losing the match because the point lifts us into the top four alone, instead of being level on points with the teams below.
You talked about transfer market. Lazio didn't sign Oli Pellegrini, which is unbelievable. I'm still amused about that. So we got asked about the new signing Gonzalez. We never talked about it, honestly. And Alistair, I don't know. Do you have something to say about this signing? Because he's playing in the Sudamerica under 20 right now. And the day Lazio signed him, I think he made the assist for, what was it, Paraguay win. So it looks promising. I would say this. Um, I don't know. He looks very young. Uh, I don't see he's gonna play any minute this season, or at least not soon. I don't
No,
know. I think he's backup of Luca Romero. So don't know. Maybe for the Primavera team. What's your thought about that?
well, I was going to say, how much Paraguayan football have you been watching this season?
Oh,
um, no, I mean, no, I don't expect that he's someone who's been brought in to come into the first team and make a difference at all. But I do think it's encouraging to see that the club is continuing to be quite ambitious with its youth development, in the sense of spending money and spreading the net far to actually try and get good talent in at a young age, because our own Primavera system has obviously been struggling in recent years. But by bringing in the likes of Raul Moro and Luca Romero in recent years, they've actually spent proper money in investing in when I say youth talent, I mean proper youth talent, teenagers, not a kind of Cancellieri style who's already got Serie A experience, but banking on the potential. And yeah, from everything I've seen, he seems to be very highly regarded, is very popular at his old club, and a good prospect. But I don't think we want to put too much pressure on him at all too soon. And I think it'll be more a case of getting him into the Primavera team, getting him acclimatized to Italy. To Let's not forget how big a move that is at that kind of age to be coming across to Italy. So yeah, I think it's encouraging that, like I say, they're investing in potential.
the funny thing about this, he didn't knew nothing till the end. We said it in this Super America under 20 competition, and he was in the locker room. The coach was talking about the next match, and his agent came in and said, "Hey, I need to talk to you a couple of minutes." And they said, "Lazio want to sign him. So do you agree?" And he said, "Yeah, of course." So he didn't do nothing, and he was playing, and immediately he made an assist. So yeah, what a bizarre start.
Yeah. No, I mean it's good. I mean it's really unexpected. Like I say that we had anything to talk about after January because we weren't expecting anything. Um, but yeah, hopefully Pellegrini. I mean it's a good signing. Like I say, it's really strengthened the position that needed to be strengthened. Good age profile. Obviously previous Serie A experience. Another ex Roma player come back. So he's clearly going to join Pedro and Romagnoli in the ranks of excelling in a derby at some point. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm really happy, really surprised, but very happy with that signing. And I think, yeah, it should produce a bit more competition for places in that defence, which has been going very well this season. Something I have seen, I mean, to move it on a bit back to the Verona game, is that we've seen a couple of calls for Patrick. And this is quite interesting because it's not so much just the because obviously defense has been playing pretty well. Casale Romagnoli partnership is doing well, but it's this idea that Patrick is actually a part of the team who brings that kind of that grinta, that determination, that he's kind of fired up for these matches more than other players are. And what do you think of that idea that Patrick is a useful player, not necessarily so much of his actual technical ability as what he actually brings, the passion he brings?
It's funny because I thought against Juventus he wasn't great. I mean, the reason we lost for me was Patrick mistake. So I was surprised that he was mentioned. But again, when Sarri doesn't give a chance to anybody, you want to throw anybody in the pitch. I mean, Cancellieri have I don't know how much he played so far, and again, people are mentioning, hey, why is he not playing? So, and to be honest, last year Patrick was probably our best central defender, right? We had Acerbi, Luis Felipe, etc. But Patrick was by far the best. So yeah, I mean, you have to give credit to Patrick because when we signed him, nobody believed in him, and he gained trust thanks to his performance and thanks to his yeah, how he played, the passion he put on the pitch. So honestly, I thought Romagnoli played well. Casale, I don't know. We defend even on corner kicks at zone, so I cannot blame Casale for the goal, but he was the player close to the Verona player that scored. So maybe he could do something better, but I cannot blame Casale for this. So I don't know. Would you bring in Patrick and sub Casale at this moment? No, not sure about that, honestly.
Probably not, but we do have this big run of fixtures coming up. So I mean, I do expect we'll see a bit of that rotation,
Yep.
like the Juve game, I guess, where there wasn't a lot, but a little bit.
No. Alistair,
And
you mentioned the fixtures. This is incredible technology. This is the fixture of Lazio so far of 2023. It isn't great, right? We won just two matches against Sassuolo and Milan, and we played against Lecce, Empoli, Sassuolo, Verona. I mean, against the small team, we didn't win once. We lost against Lecce, the only defeat so far this year, which is good. But we didn't win against Verona. We didn't win against Empoli. It's concerning, right?
yeah, I mean, it's the story of the season so far, isn't it? And now huge game coming up this weekend against Atalanta, and that's the thing is that's it's kind of frustrating, isn't it? Because you could see that as a decisive moment for this season, but then again, um, it's only decisive if you build on it. And I think a lot of people have really lost faith that Lazio are going to be able to build on big results anyway. And it's a shame because the team has been doing so well in the big games so far. And the league is so tight right now that the head-to-head may well make a big difference come the end of the season. And don't forget, we're 2-0 up on Atalanta in the head-to-head at the moment. So even losing by one goal on Saturday could end up being decisive, given how close everything is in the table at the moment. But it's these results we're looking at here. Lecce Lazio 2-1, 1-0 up in that game. Lazio Empoli 2-0. We were 2-0 up in that game with 10 minutes to go. Verona Lazio 1-0 up in that game. Lazio Fiorentina 1-0 up in that game. So all these matches that we're looking at from January that Lazio have dropped points in, they've been ahead in. And that's the crux of it, isn't it? It's how you see out games, how you find the composure, the leadership necessary to actually ensure that you have a continuous level of performance. I think that's what's so frustrating, and ultimately will cost the team a top four place if they're not careful. It's amazing, really, how many points Lazio have already dropped this season against poor teams that were still in the top four.
In fact, they ask us if there's something to do, a medicine, a voodoo session, or miracle to stop losing points when Lazio goes 1-0 ahead. I mean, is it the 16th time we don't win a match where we go ahead? Something like that, 17th, maybe? I mean, that's enough, I would say. That's too much for a team that wants to fight for the Champions League, Alistair.
Yeah, far too much. And look, it's a huge opportunity this season to qualify for the Champions League because the field is so poor. It's a really bad league this year. I mean, Napoli are a very good side and they deserve to be dominating, but they're also helped in their domination by the fact that everyone else is so crap. And Juve, with or without the points deduction, are a very poor Juve side. I think Inter will still be all right and push on a bit, but the field of competitors isn't a very high quality field this year. So Lazio included, but they just have a real opportunity here to get back in the Champions League when it's this crowded, when there's so little between the teams, when all these teams are flawed. The fact that Lazio are performing in these big games should really give them the advantage. But you feel like you need to shake these players and get them to realize the opportunity they've got here because of the position of the league. You've got the table up there, and it's so close.
Yeah, and it's funny, Alistair, because we drop points against Verona, we drew, and still we got 1 point from Atalanta and Milan. They both lost. So
Yeah.
it's funny, right? I mean, we should be so disappointed, and we are so disappointed. But that draw made us go 1 point ahead of Atalanta and Milan. So this tells you how our opponents are really doing everything to make Lazio finish in the top four. But we have to do definitely something more because it won't be going like that forever. I mean, we are not going to talk about AC Milan, but I don't believe Milan can continue like that. In the last 5 matches, they lost the last 3 and drew the other one. I mean, it's not going to go on for a long time, this crisis in AC Milan. So we have to get points now because next week there's a Confederation Cup coming in. We're going to play every week twice. So we're going to drop points. We need to do something to get a gap between us and Atalanta and Milan, right?
Well, first of all, it's called the Conference League. Come on, if we're going to be in this competition, you need to know the name of it. No, absolutely. I mean, it's like you say, it's hard to imagine Milan being this bad until the end of the season. They can't be. Atalanta they're the only one in that field who don't have the distraction, I guess, of European football. So, and they've been the best, I reckon, of that top 4 pack in the last month or so. The most convincing. Obviously, they got a bad result this weekend, but the red card had a big effect in that. So it's a big game this weekend, but this is a difference now. I'm looking at Lazio's fixtures. and the ones coming up, obviously, there's the European games coming, but the Serie A matches in the next few weeks, we've got Atalanta, Napoli, and Roma, and usually you look at that and go, "Wow, that's a big run." But I'm actually looking at that now, given the way the season's going, and I'm going Salernitana away, Sampdoria at home. Those are the games that will make or break whether you get in the top four. And those are the games you would normally ignore in a fixture list because they feel like gimmies compared to the rest. But that is exactly where this team has gone wrong this season. And you know, like we said before, every game's worth 3 points. You go and beat Milan 4-0, and it doesn't feel like it. It feels like it's worth a lot more. But then if we'd been beaten 4-0 by Milan and we'd actually gone and beat Fiorentina and Verona, we'd be in a better position right now. So I'm looking at those Salernitana and Sampdoria games and thinking the team absolutely has to win those matches. But I think we're all losing a bit of confidence about that. Didn't beat them first time around this season. Lost 3-1 to Salernitana.
Yeah.
Drew with Sampdoria, didn't we?
Again, we were 1-0 both matches. So, not a surprise anymore. This is something that it's terrible. Another thing, going back to our season so far, is that you mentioned we struggle against small teams. But the other thing is, compared to the first part of the season, we are conceding a lot of goals because we played 6 games so far and we conceded 6 goals, which, considering that Lazio scores an average of a little bit more than 1 goal per match, means that every single match is 1-1, right? We concede 1 goal, we score 1 goal, it's 1-1. So this is an issue going forward.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that without the defense being what it is, things would be a lot worse off. But yeah, I mean, I think the priority has to be getting this team creating more, getting this team scoring more, because we all know the talent is there. There's a lot of attacking talent in this team. The likes of Zaccagni. Zaccagni's having his best season for a while. Felipe Anderson's had some fantastic games this year. We know that this team is capable of playing great attacking football, but just need to find a way of keeping them at that level all the time, and maybe mixing it up a bit. I don't know. I mean, Sarri has been criticized for this before his time at Lazio, but sometimes it feels like, okay, we've got this one plan, the 4-3-3, but is there anything else we can do when we need something a bit different? I can't imagine, because I don't think we've seen Lazio do anything other than 4-3-3 since Sarri arrived. But it just feels like even just all tweaking personnel or something to freshen it up a bit might be useful from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, rotate a little bit more the team.
Yeah.
Again, I don't believe that our bench is so bad that players can't come in against Verona, right? I mean, Basic, Cancellieri. I mean, Marcos Antonio, he played in the Champions League. He cannot play against Verona. Come on, this must be a joke. I mean, I know Shakhtar didn't finish in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, but they played regularly. And now he cannot play against Verona. I mean, there's something more. I mean, I cannot accept this thing. So, and we don't know. Maybe Marcos Antonio, Basic, they were injured. Maybe Lazzari didn't play because he got a cold. I don't know. But come out and say, hey, I was struggling. I didn't make all the substitution because I got this player injured, this player was ill, this was sick, etc., etc. Again, we saw Basic warming up all the second half and he didn't come in. So, don't know. I really don't understand what's going on in Sarri's mind. But then you cannot blame that this team is tired, right? And now against big matches, we need something more because Atalanta, again, it's a key match going forward. And as you mentioned, all the other matches, now the Conference League comes up and we have, I mean, playing every 3 days. You cannot imagine to play with the same starting 11 all times, right?
No, and it frustrates me a little bit, and Sarri's not the only one that does it. But I saw Sarri again, kind of whinging about the lack of time to prepare the team, and how this is football nowadays and all this, and Mourinho does it as well. A lot of people do it, but yeah, it is football now, so we do need to get used to that idea. And there's not much point kind of complaining about a lack of preparation time, or because those are the things you can do, I guess. Is yeah, rotate the team to keep it a bit fresher, or try something new if it's gone a bit stale. And we've seen both sides of Lazio in the last month. We've seen how devastatingly good they can be and how complacent they can be. And I think that we're likely to see that again in the next month, because we've got too many matches to not see both sides. And I think we're all just begging for a bit of consistency here. That's what it comes down to. So hopefully we get there, starting Saturday against Atalanta.
Yeah. I mean, this is what is missing: consistency in this team, right? Unfortunately, we are not able to. I mean, you dominate AC Milan, and then you go and drop points against Fiorentina, Verona, and so on. So this is a problem for the team, and Sarri neither Inzaghi were able to fix it. So I don't know. Anyway, Saturday is a very important match, Alistair. We need to win. It's at home. Let's hope that the stadium will be packed, because again, it's a very important match. And we'll be back after Lazio Atalanta, hoping to be a little bit more happier than today. Even though you are quite happy, right, for what happened Saturday.
Oh yeah, for other reasons, but that was a great day.
Yeah, a strange sport. But anyway, hope you enjoyed it. And guys, you can find us on YouTube, Spreaker, Spotify, wherever you listen to our podcast. Please rate and review the podcast. And if you want to support us, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. Membership starts at $2 a month. Thank you, Alistair. Goodbye, everybody. Take care.
Cheers.